Hello, my crafty friend, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's junk journal flip through video. I have come back to one of my absolute favorite sort of cover design ideas, and that is the majestic peacock in front of a beautiful nighttime garden scene. Instead of kind of repeating the same textile art that I've done in the past with this theme, however, I've decided to play with a few more colors in the scheme and include this really pretty sort of turquoise and indigo kind of peacock tail trim, as well as kind of repeating that blue on the top. So while the style is kind of similar to my Magic in the Peacock Garden and Magic in the Midnight Garden journals, it does have its own kind of uniqueness, including the purple upcycled enamel flower jewelry piece and this really cool green upcycled earring that I attached to like a purple rose applique and then dangled a really beautiful beaded earring from it. So there's some really fun kind of bead movement on this cover. And yeah, I just really love it. If you're one of my regular viewers, you know that my favorite kind of thing about a journal is the cover and just layers of textiles, lots of like pretty tabs on the side, lots of color, and especially lots of jewelry pieces is kind of how I like to make my books. So yeah, the back is just a really simple sort of peacock feather design, and I created a pocket by wrapping that really cool feather trim all the way around. I left it empty, but I will put a little note here to whoever buys the book, just with the book's title and my signature and the date that it was completed. I've started doing that with all my journals just because I feel like it's nice for an artist to sign their work, but I like to do that on a removable piece of paper so that the collector can choose to either keep it or glue it in somewhere or basically do what they want with it. So anyway, yeah, that's the cover. The closure is some upcycled faux silk sari. It's vegan friendly faux silk. And I threaded the top piece through this really cool piece from a bracelet that actually, gorgeous bracelet, but when it broke, I was kind of excited because that meant I can reuse the pieces in journals. And it just had to come into this one because it is kind of a peacock color, those blue faux gemstones. So yeah, I loaded this one up with lots of what I think are good things. The inside cover is lined with this really pretty purple peacock wallpaper. I got really lucky and found that in a wallpaper sample book. I've used it in other journals in the past, but it's just really, really pretty peacock paper. Maybe I'll use this as the background. It's a little less distracting. But yeah, it's just a really lovely purple peacock print wallpaper. Made a pocket out of some sequin trim. And then I loaded that pocket with goodies because journals are basically collections of goodies for whoever buys them. This is an authentic piece of French ephemera. It's exactly 100 years old. It's from 1923. I can't read all the writing because it's a little bit difficult to read Old French cursive, but it's from Place de la Cathédrale 10, which is like the Cathedral Road. Bayon le 6/4/1923, so I think that would mean 064 would be like April 6th, 1923. But I'm not sure if they do day or maybe 26th April 1923. Anyway, that's my best guess as to the date. But it's a pretty cool piece. It has this cool stamp on the back. Oh yeah, 28 avril. So yeah, the 28th of April. So So maybe 26th was when they wrote it here, and then 28th is when they stamped it. Anyway, it's really cool. It's handwritten. It's authentic. It's got that beautiful font along the top that I think is just stunning. That's what us paper nerds really appreciate old French documents for. So I've left it plain. I didn't add any of my own folds to it. This is how it was folded when I received it in a collection. So that is for the owner of the book to do with what she pleases. I made a cute little tag flip book with peacocks and just kind of held it together with brads. The printables I used for this one, I'll list in the video description. It's a really lovely peacock kit. And then I did the backing papers all from one of my all-time favorite printable kits, which is the Bohemian Bazaar kit from Medieval Mirage. I just adore the jewel tones and the opulence and the kind of boho gypsy vibe that she gives in this kit. But yeah, I tried to keep the trims and the fabrics and the textile pieces that I used somewhat relevant to peacock colors. And although I did use lots of printables in this one, I also tried to include a lot of authentic ephemera, including this really cool vintage French postage stamp. And I thought the Kelly green just went really well with all the peacock greens in here. And a Lakshmi for good luck. This is a sticker that I printed myself, so you can peel her off and stick her wherever you like, to bring blessings of abundance and prosperity. And because every journal I make, I like to include a little bluebird of happiness. Despite all the peacocks, we have one adorable fuzzy little bluebird delivering what looks like a message of love. So that would be a great place to write your name, or maybe the date when you started filling in the journal, or whatever you might like. So the front page, one of the printables from the printable kit, just absolutely beautiful with this peacock. And I put some vintage lace trim in kind of a peacock green. I did a variety of different sizes and shapes of papers. So this print is actually from the paper Cameo. So yeah, there was one other printable kit that I used. And I just glued some really cute pom-pom trim to it. I just adore the look of textiles added into a journal just to give it more texture and more color. Created a little pocket tuck. This is a vintage William Morris print, or I should say antique, printed on linen paper. Left it blank on the back, so that would be a great place for you to do some journaling. This is a coffee dyed piece of cardstock that I coffee dyed with a stencil. I made a pocket out of some black lace that looks like it has little feathers dripping down from it. This random collection of gentleman's fashion was part of the peacock printable kit. And at first, I couldn't figure out what this has to do with peacocks, and then I noticed there is, of course, a little peacock in the bottom left-hand corner. So that sits there. And the first little exciting surprise that I tucked into here is something that I found very recently at a local rock and gem show, like a mineral crystal show. I am as much or even more into crystals as or than I am into paper and journaling. And yet this one was totally new to me. This is a crystal, I think they called it glitter hematite or rainbow hematite. And it's totally natural, which I found quite shocking because it looks so man-made or electroplated. But it's hematite, which is a very grounding, protective stone. And it has natural rainbowy colored glitter on it that this piece in particular just really looked like it had peacock colors. So you can either choose to keep this in your book. I really hope the camera is picking that up because it is, in person, it is spectacular. So yeah, you can either keep that in your book or take it out and put it on display somewhere as you choose. This page is authentic ledger from the 1960s. I created a little pocket just by putting brads through little holes that were punched into it. Attached a little heart charm that I found in a vintage jewelry jar. And then in that pocket, I added a couple of journal cards that I made by just copying a couple pieces of Victorian ephemera onto cardstock and then fussy cutting them. And so I had considered gluing these down in the book somewhere as tuck spots, but I thought they would be a really fun place to write maybe a secret message or do some secret journaling, and then you can glue them down somewhere if you choose to, and that would look really cool. Or maybe just keep them in this pocket. I love the look of different layers of papers in the book and different textures, and so having kind of leaves and flowers layered over each other and spilling off the page, that stuff makes me happy, seeing the way that looks. Lots of sari trim tabs, lots of different patterns, so this would all be a great backdrop for collage. If you want to write even on busy pages like this, you can always paint them white. You can write on a piece of transparent paper and then glue it over top for kind of like a cool layered look. There's a lot you can do with these. Like pages like this, you can write a short little journal entry here and another little one there. In case you're watching this wondering what to do with a junk journal, this is some great journal space. This is from a 1961 copy of a needlework kind of a magazine, Crafty and a Needlework magazine. Little peacock in a tree. That's a vintage French book page. Another printable. Love this peacock, how he fills up the whole page. So here's another snippet of the wallpaper that I've lined the book with. I made that into a pocket on a piece of vintage copy paper. And I just put a little pocket, a little envelope into here that's a printable from the paper cameo. Really pretty image. I made it so that the envelope closes just by attaching a little bit of sari trim to the bottom flap. So yeah, the upper flap tucks into there. And then you can open it all the way so that you can maybe do some journaling on the faux document that I've backed it with. And then this little folding booklet, whoops, these were also part of the digital kit that I printed all the pages from. So you can either cut those apart and use them as decorations or use it as kind of like a little mini folded booklet to write some secret messages. Decorated this side with some really beautiful peacock washi tape, and then just filled that little pocket with extra goodies. Isn't this adorable? So I found this playing card at a really cool little thrift shop in a town called Pincher Creek that's like very close to the Rocky Mountains. There was a whole set of them for like 50 cents. And I knew I had to have them because I recognize it from my childhood. So either a daycare that I went to must have had that exact set of playing cards, or maybe my mom had them at some point. But as a cat lover, I had to buy them to include in journals as ephemera. And throughout, I've put a couple extra samples of some of my favorite textile pieces. So there's one. I love the moodiness of this Victorian painting. Really cool with the passion flower. This is authentic, almost antique wallpaper from my Sears wallpaper sample book. I think the last video I published was a flip through of that book. And although some of you commented that I would be crazy to take it apart and use the paper, I bought it to take apart and use the paper in crafts, and so that's what I'm doing with it. And I just felt like the blues and the purples and the cream background and the black lines in this particular print just looked so perfect with these images, these kind of background papers from the Medieval Mirage Bohemian Bazaar kit. So yeah, Sylvan Beauties. And this was expensive, if you can believe it, back in 1928. 30 cents for a roll was actually quite a bit of money back then. Now that roll of wallpaper would probably be what, $100, $150 from 30 cents. Anyhow, this little piece is a snippet from a book about Versailles. The center of the signature, I put a really cool periwinkle colored vintage doily. And instead of tying beads to the string ends that hold in the signature this time, I tied little bits of fabric with some eyelash trim. So there's kind of like little boho bead thingies right there inside the book that I think adds some cool texture. If you don't like that, you can always just trim these short. And then we just have the other sides of all the papers. Unfortunately, my printer put lines through a couple of them, but luckily most of the peacocks are beautiful and intact. It's just these kind of background pages that got a little bit lined. So yeah, the other side of that cool Sears wallpaper sample has a beautiful bird climbing in a vine. And I just love these. They look like little pieces of jewelry on a black background. Another pretty peacock. To go with the passion flowers, I put some really bright, almost like a Schiaparelli style shocking pink fringe trim. I love this white peacock. So on this page, I gave a sample of some beautiful vintage beaded sari trim. And I love it because it looks kind of like these little teardrop shapes. Could be like little feathers. And they have beads, and they also have little adorable crystals in them. So as a jewelry lover, I really love that little piece of fabric. There's a sample of handmade khadi paper from India with a cool golden butterfly pattern. And then this folds out so you could journal here. You could rip this down so it flips down for added journaling space if you wanted to. You could do what we did in the early 90s and pull the punched holes off the top and the bottom of the paper and play with them. Oops, sorry. But yeah, I have fun just adding samples to journals. This cute little heart cutout can also be taken off and used as a stencil or just glued down somewhere. I think I've mentioned this in previous videos, but part of me always wants to over decorate every book that I'm working on. And I'm kind of training myself to leave some blank pages and room for whoever buys the book to decorate it themselves, because it is their book after all. Pretty sequined butterfly. The other side of that French playbook. Like I said, lots of sari trim tabs. These little beads were in a jewelry jar that I found thrifting, and they just look really cute here. This is one of my favorite stationery items ever. I think I like the envelope more than I like the card because it's just so gorgeous when you see the peacock in the lining. But then again, the card is quite beautiful too. It has kind of an Art Nouveau flair to it with the beautiful flowers and the mandala in the background and the peacock in the foreground. Just a really beautiful blank card. So you can either do some journaling in that or actually send it to a friend if you can bear to part with it, which I could not. I've added these into 2 of my personal journals just because I love looking at them so much. I trimmed this page with some really floofy sari trim, just to give it some beautiful texture. Made a bookmark out of an upcycled or recycled piece of a gift bag, and I love that turquoise blue on the back. I used this pretty sari trim tab kind of as a pocket, and I tucked in 2 pages from a French architect's manual from 1912. So these are some more authentic French ephemera. I really love collecting authentic ephemera, but I also love sharing authentic ephemera. I feel like if a book is only made of printables, as beautiful as they might be, there's something kind of artificial feeling about it to me. So when something has real vintage postage stamps and antique wallpapers and pieces from antique books, that's kind of when it becomes something magical and special, because no two will ever be alike. And I think as little and simple as it is, this little detail here is my favorite thing in the entire book. I created a pocket out of 3 Queen Elizabeth stamps. One has a really cool little dragon on it. I coordinated the colors on the stamps to the colors in this boho print. And then in that little pocket, I'm parting with yet another one of my all-time favorite personal hoarded stamps. I think it's from Russia from 1982. And it has just the most gorgeous flower arrangement. And the flower arrangement reminds me of peacock feathers. In fact, maybe those are peacock feathers with these 2 cute little cartoon birds up front. I almost glued this down in the book, but I decided to leave it removable in this pocket. So you can either write an adorable little message on the back of it and just keep it in the pocket, or take it out and use it to decorate whatever you'd like. But slowly but surely I am bringing myself to part with some of my favorite things, and that little stamp is another one of them. So this page has a really cool print from that digital kit. I folded this ledger paper over so it kind of creates a little pocket. And I would have put the peacock inside the pocket, but I kind of wanted him to be visible when you turn the page. And then I adorned the golden paper clip with a really beautiful natural gemstone charm of malachite, citrine, and amethyst. So the colors are to coordinate with all the greens and golds and purples throughout the Peacock book. For those of you interested in the properties of crystals and gemstones, malachite is a stone for the heart chakra. So it increases our capacity to love, heals us from heartbreak, opens the heart to new possibilities, deeper friendships, heightened romance, helps us kind of magnetize the connections that we're searching for. Citrine is a manifestation gem of the solar plexus, and it helps us with creativity, spontaneity, leadership capacity, and attracting wealth and abundance. So that's a very nice little combination. Love, wealth, and then amethyst. Amethyst for spirituality and awakening the crown chakra, which is kind of our highest inner energy center. And it's all about a meditative state of awareness, feeling fulfilled in life, feeling fulfilled in our spiritual seeking. And so yeah, having these stones together really amplifies the energy of the book, especially if you're using it for any kind of spiritual journaling. But because it's removable from that paper clip, you can also maybe put a little jump ring or a bail on that and wear it as a pendant if you would rather take it out and wear it as jewelry. And so, as well as making and selling junk journals, I'm usually wearing big stacks of bracelets that I've made in every video. So I also have an Etsy shop for my handmade jewelry, and I exclusively work with natural, genuine gemstones for their healing properties and kind of mystical qualities. So I'll put the link to that shop in the video description, as well as the link to where you can buy the journal. I'll list the journal at the same time that I publish the video. If you don't see it in my shop when you click on that link, it just means it's already sold. Another little envelope. I printed this one at half the size that it's normally meant to be because I just adore little miniatures. Little upcycled piece of jewelry to decorate the corner of this coffee dyed cardstock. This pretty purple beaded trim on the side of that page. Another textile sample with a couple of beautiful lovebirds. So this could be glued down somewhere as a pocket, or I was going to glue it down as a tab like this, but I didn't want to separate the two birdies. They're too cute together. So I put those. Oh, and isn't this beautiful, by the way? I just love this printable kit. I'm definitely going to make more peacock themed books at some point. But yeah, I put that in a pocket that's also made of a piece of sari trim, kind of a velvety sari trim that looks like a peacock. I love that printable too. Actually, this print looks just like my living room carpet. So yes, I sit on the floor when I do my flip through videos. And it's only now that I'm sitting here noticing that, yeah, my carpet looks like that print, which is kind of fun. Glittery belly band. I love this shocking pink color. Bright, bright pink is just something very special, I think. And yeah, that brings us to the end of the book. I love this back page so much just because the two peacocks, or the peacock couple, really look beautifully framed. We might be about to get a little cameo appearance by my cat Oreo. Maybe not. She's kind of climbing into my lap as I film this. But yeah, I kept this one simple, and in that pocket I just put a cute little Chinese money envelope with a long sample of golden peacock trim. I couldn't decide where I wanted to put this in the book, so instead of gluing it down, I cut kind of a generous little portion to share and decided to just include it as an extra goodie. So there we have it. I hope you had fun watching this flip through video. I hope it inspires you to maybe get crafting, or maybe do some journaling, or maybe support my work here by popping over to my Etsy shop and claiming the journal for yourself. If you do, you can expect to find extra little goodies tucked into it, because I always love to spoil my customers a little bit and include some extras. But yeah, there we have it. I really love how this one came out. It's a lot of my personal favorite colors and favorite materials and favorite textures, and I've used a couple of my favorite jewelry bits. So yeah, just thank you so much for watching. Oh, and I almost forgot, as with every flip through video, I wore a ring that I kind of chose to match the journal. It's one of those vintage kind of bent spoon rings, and I felt like the design on the silver of this ring, I'm sure it's not real, but the design on the faux silver really reminded me of a peacock's tail. That is not genuine turquoise. I can tell by looking at it. It might be dyed howlite, or it could just be like a polymer clay. But it's a really cool looking ring. So I hope you like that too. That will be a gift with purchase to whoever claims this peacock journal for their own. Once again, thank you so much for watching. So much love to you. Happy crafting, and we'll see you next week.